Every time I leave the house, something moves inside. The first time it happened, I thought I was losing my mind. I'd left for work at 7:30 a.m., rushing as usual, barely remembering to pack my 5-year-old daughter Emma's lunch before dropping her at kindergarten. When I returned that evening, exhausted after a 9-hour shift and grocery shopping, the framed photo of Emma's father, the one I'd deliberately placed face down in the drawer after our fight the night before, was sitting upright on my nightstand. I stood frozen in the doorway, keys still in hand, wondering if grief had finally broken something essential inside me. But what I discovered over the next few months would change everything I thought I knew about motherhood, loss, and what it truly means to make a house a home. If you've ever felt that strange sensation that something in your home isn't quite as you left it, stay with me until the end. I promise what I learned might just help you see your own living space, and the life you're building there, in an entirely new light. If this journey speaks to you, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our community of parents and caregivers who understand that sometimes the most profound stories happen in the spaces between goodbye and hello. My name is Olivia Chen, and 6 months ago, I was just another overwhelmed single mother trying to hold everything together after my husband Michael's sudden death. At 34, I found myself solely responsible for our daughter, our mortgage, and the crushing weight of grief that made even the simplest tasks feel impossible. The modest 2-bedroom house we'd bought with such hope 3 years earlier now felt both too empty without Michael and too full of his memory. Emma and I were barely managing. I'd taken a job as an administrative assistant at a local medical office, not my dream career, but it had regular hours and decent benefits. Every morning was a chaotic rush of getting Emma dressed, fed, and out the door while I gulped down coffee and tried to look presentable enough for work. Every evening was a tired shuffle through dinner preparation, bath time, bedtime stories, and then collapsing into exhausted sleep, only to repeat it all again the next day. The photo incident was just the beginning. Over the next few weeks, I noticed other small changes whenever I returned home. A book Michael had been reading before his accident moved from the bookshelf to the coffee table. His favorite coffee mug, which I'd packed away in a box in the garage, somehow appearing in the dish rack. His old sweater, which I'd stuffed in the back of the closet because I couldn't bear to see it but couldn't bear to give it away, draped over the armchair as if waiting for him. At first, I questioned my sanity. Grief does strange things to the mind, and I wondered if I was moving these items myself in some kind of dissociative state. I started taking photos of rooms before I left, comparing them to what I found when I returned. The evidence was undeniable, things were moving when I wasn't home. My next thought was that someone had a key to my house. I changed the locks, installed a basic security system, even set up a nanny cam in the living room. The camera never showed anyone entering, yet things still moved. Then I considered Emma. Could my daughter be moving these items, creating some connection to the father she was too young to fully remember? But many of the movements happened while she was with me or at her preschool. It was Emma, though, who offered the first real clue. One evening as I tucked her into bed, she asked in her small, serious voice, "Mommy, who plays with me when you're at work?" A chill ran through me. "What do you mean, sweetie? No one's here when we're not home." Emma looked at me with that patient expression children sometimes have when they think adults are being particularly dense. "The daddy in the walls. He moves my toys when I'm at school, but he puts them back before you come home. He doesn't want you to be mad about the mess." I tried to keep my voice steady as I asked, "And how do you know about this, daddy in the walls?" "I saw him once when I woke up from my nap on Saturday. He was fixing my dollhouse. He looked sad, so I told him it was okay, you just haven't had time to fix it yet." He smiled at me and then went back into the wall. That night, I barely slept. Emma's words echoed in my mind, mixing with my own observations. Was my daughter seeing something I couldn't? Children are said to be more perceptive of the supernatural, but I'd never believed in ghosts. Michael had been the believer in our relationship, always talking about energies and presences I dismissed as superstition. The next day, I called in sick to work and kept Emma home from preschool. After breakfast, I sat her down at the kitchen table with her coloring books and asked her to tell me more about the daddy in the walls. "He's tall like Daddy was," she said, carefully selecting a blue crayon. "And he has the same scratchy face. But he looks more see-through, like when you put water in your juice." Does he talk to you?" I asked, my heart pounding. Emma nodded. "He tells me stories sometimes. And he says he's sorry he had to go away, but he's trying to help take care of us." "Are you scared of him?" This seemed the most important question. Emma looked surprised. "No, Mommy. He's nice. He's sad sometimes, but he's nice." "Are you scared of him?" I didn't know how to answer. Was I scared? Yes, but not in the way Emma meant. I was terrified of hoping, of believing that some part of Michael might still be with us. Hope felt dangerous after months of grief. That afternoon, while Emma napped, I did something I hadn't done since the funeral. I took out the box of Michael's personal effects, his wallet, his watch, the clothes he'd been wearing that rainy night when his car skidded off the road. I sat on our bed, these pieces of him spread around me, and for the first time, I spoke to him as if he could hear me. "Michael," I whispered, feeling foolish and desperate and hopeful all at once. "If you're here, if you're somehow still with us, I need to know. I need some sign that I'm not losing my mind." Nothing happened. No sudden chill, no flickering lights like in the movies. Just the quiet of the house and my own ragged breathing. Eventually, I packed everything away again and went to check on Emma. The next morning, I returned to our routine. I dropped Emma at preschool and headed to work, trying to push aside the disappointment that had settled in my chest. Whatever was happening in our house, it wasn't Michael. It couldn't be. That kind of miracle didn't happen to people like me. When I returned home that evening, everything looked normal at first. I paid the babysitter, made dinner for Emma, supervised her bath, and read her a bedtime story. It wasn't until I went to my own room to change into pajamas that I noticed it. On my pillow lay Michael's watch, the one I'd held just yesterday, the one that had stopped at 11:42 p.m., the estimated time of his accident. Beside it was a small drawing in Emma's distinctive style, 3 stick figures holding hands in front of a house. Mommy, Emma, and Daddy were labeled in her wobbly handwriting. I picked up the watch with trembling hands. I knew with absolute certainty that I had put it back in the box, and the box was still in the closet where I'd left it. Emma couldn't have reached it, even if she'd known where to look. That night, I lay awake for hours, the watch clutched in my hand, its weight both comforting and terrifying. Was I ready to believe? Could I allow myself to accept that Michael might still be with us in some inexplicable way? The next few weeks brought more incidents. Small things, mostly, objects moved, lights turned on or off, the television switching to Michael's favorite channel. But there were more personal touches too. The time I came home to find my half-completed job application for a better position had been moved from the stack of mail to the center of the table, as if someone wanted to make sure I didn't forget about it. Or the morning I discovered Emma's favorite stuffed animal, which had been missing for days, sitting prominently on the kitchen counter next to my car keys. I began to leave notes, tentative at first, then more direct. "Michael, if this is you, can you move this book to the coffee table?" The book would be on the coffee table when I returned. "Can you turn on the porch light if you're watching over us?" The porch light would be on, though I'd checked twice that I'd turned it off. It became a strange sort of communication, this call and response across whatever divide separated us. I never saw him, never felt his presence directly, but the evidence of his movements through our house became a comfort rather than a fear. Emma, for her part, seemed to take it all in stride. "Daddy's just checking on us," she'd say matter-of-factly when something moved or appeared. "He wants to make sure we're okay." I envied her certainty, her easy acceptance of something so far beyond normal experience. For me, each incident brought a mixture of joy and pain, joy at this impossible connection, pain at the reminder of all we'd lost. One evening, about 3 months after the first incident with the photo, I came home to find something different. Instead of an object moved or placed, there was a message. On the magnetic whiteboard we kept on the refrigerator for grocery lists and reminders, written in handwriting that made my heart stop, Michael's distinctive scrawl. Look in the attic. Northwest corner. Under the floorboard. I stood staring at the words, a chill running through me. In all the months of strange movements and placed objects, this was the first direct message. And it was unmistakably Michael's handwriting, the slightly slanted letters, the way he crossed his T's with a longer line than necessary. After putting Emma to bed, I found myself standing at the pull-down attic stairs, flashlight in hand, heart pounding. Our attic was little more than a storage space, low-ceilinged and dusty, filled with Christmas decorations and boxes of old clothes. Michael and I had rarely gone up there together, and I'd avoided it entirely since his death. The northwest corner was behind several stacked boxes. I moved them carefully, shining my flashlight on the rough wooden floorboards. One board seemed slightly raised at the edge. Using a screwdriver from Michael's old toolbox, I pried it up. Beneath it was a small metal box, the kind used for cash or important documents. With shaking hands, I lifted it out and carried it downstairs to the kitchen table. Inside was a sealed envelope with my name on it, a small velvet jewelry box, and a USB drive. I opened the envelope first. My dearest Olivia, the letter began in Michael's handwriting. If you're reading this, then something has happened to me. I've always had a strange feeling that I might not grow old with you and Emma, though I've prayed every day to be wrong. Tears blurred my vision as I continued reading. I've left a few things for you to find when the time is right. In the jewelry box is a necklace I bought for our upcoming anniversary. Wear it and know I would have given it to you with all my love. The USB drive contains videos I've been making for Emma since she was born, one for each birthday until she's 18. I want her to know who I was, even if I can't be there to show her myself. The letter continued, detailing financial information I hadn't known about, a life insurance policy larger than the one I'd been aware of, investments he'd made, a savings account specifically for Emma's education. I don't know why I felt compelled to prepare these things, the letter concluded. Perhaps just the caution of a new father. But know this, my love, whatever happens, whatever comes, my heart belongs to you and Emma. You made my life complete in ways I never imagined possible. If there's any way to watch over you both, I promise I will find it. I sat at the kitchen table until dawn, reading and rereading the letter, opening the jewelry box to find a delicate silver necklace with 2 intertwined hearts, watching the first of the birthday videos Michael had prepared for Emma. In it, he sat in this very kitchen, looking healthy and alive and so present that it physically hurt to watch. "Hey, pumpkin," he said to the camera. "It's your 6th birthday today, and I wanted to tell you how proud I am of you." The next day, I called in sick again. I spent the morning watching more of Michael's videos, marveling at his foresight, at the love that had prompted him to create these messages from a future he somehow suspected he might not see. When Emma came home from preschool, I showed her the first video, the one for her current age. We sat together on the couch, her small body pressed against mine, as Michael's face filled the screen and his voice filled our living room. "Daddy!" Emma exclaimed, reaching out to touch the screen. "That's my daddy in the walls." I looked at her sharply. "What do you mean, sweetie?" "That's what he looks like when he talks to me. Not see-through anymore. Just like that." She pointed to the screen where Michael was smiling, telling her how smart and kind she was growing up to be. Something shifted in my understanding then. Whatever was happening in our house, whether it was Michael's spirit, some imprint of his energy, or something else entirely, it was real to Emma. She was connecting with her father in a way I couldn't see or fully comprehend, but it was happening nonetheless. That night, after Emma was asleep, I sat in the living room with a glass of wine and spoke aloud to the empty house. I found your box, Michael. Thank you for thinking of us, for preparing for a future you somehow sensed might come. I paused, gathering courage. I don't know if you can really hear me, if you're really here moving things when we're gone. Part of me thinks I'm talking to myself right now. But if you are here, if some part of you is watching over us, I want you to know that it's okay. I'm okay. We're going to be okay. I felt no dramatic presence, saw no ghostly apparition. But as I sat there in the quiet house, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced since before the accident. Whether Michael was truly present or whether the movements in our house had some other explanation, I had been given a gift, the knowledge that he had loved us enough to reach across time, to prepare for our future even when he couldn't be part of it. The incidents continued over the following months, but they changed in nature. Less about proving a presence, more about practical help. The time I was running late for work and couldn't find my car keys, only to discover them placed prominently by the front door. Or when Emma's homework assignment, which I'd forgotten about, was moved from her backpack to the kitchen table where I couldn't miss it. I began to see these movements not as supernatural events but as acts of love and care. Whether they came from Michael's spirit or from some part of my subconscious trying to help me navigate single parenthood, the effect was the same. I felt supported, remembered, less alone. 6 months after finding Michael's box, I made a decision. The medical office where I worked was stable but unfulfilling. Before Emma was born, I'd been studying interior design, a passion I'd put aside when pregnancy and then motherhood took precedence. Michael had always encouraged me to return to it someday. Using some of the insurance money Michael had left us, I enrolled in online courses to complete my degree. I converted our rarely used dining room into a studio space, setting up a drafting table and computer. The first night after I'd arranged everything, I came downstairs in the morning to find one of Michael's architecture books. He'd been a structural engineer, open on my new desk, turned to a chapter on sustainable design that had been one of his particular interests. I ran my fingers over the pages, imagining his hands holding this same book, reading these same words. "Are you going to help me study?" I asked the empty room, smiling through tears. That became our new pattern. I would work on my assignments late into the night after Emma was asleep, then leave my work spread out on the desk. In the morning, I'd often find small changes, a pencil moved to mark a particular passage in a textbook, a sketch slightly adjusted to improve a proportion, a sticky note placed on a page I needed to review. Emma, now approaching her 6th birthday, continued to speak occasionally of "Daddy in the walls," though less frequently as time passed. When I asked her about it one evening, she shrugged with the easy acceptance of childhood. "He doesn't need to hide in the walls so much anymore," she said, concentrating on the picture she was coloring. "He says you know he's here now, so it's okay." I swallowed hard. "And does he still talk to you?" Emma nodded. "Sometimes. But mostly he just watches. He says he's proud of us." As Emma's birthday approached, the first birthday where we could watch the video Michael had prepared specifically for her at this age, I found myself reflecting on how far we'd come. The crushing grief that had once made it difficult to get out of bed each morning had softened into something more manageable, a sadness that lived alongside joy rather than smothering it. Our house, which had felt so empty after Michael's death, now felt full again, not just with the memory of him,